Take your hands off that seat, or I'll have you removed from first class. The words landed hard enough to turn every head in the cabin. Ethan Brooks looked up from seat 2A and met Claire Whitmore's stare without moving. He was 16, black, dressed in a charcoal hoodie, dark jeans, and clean white sneakers. His boarding pass rested on the tray table beside a small black case he had guarded since leaving home. Around him, the first-class cabin glowed with soft amber lights and polished wood trim, quiet and expensive, the kind of place where people expected comfort and rarely questioned who was allowed to have it. Claire stood over him with one hand extended, waiting for his ticket as though he had not already shown it twice. "I paid for this seat," Ethan said. His voice was steady, almost too steady for someone surrounded by strangers who had already decided he was the problem. "Your ticket is under review," Claire replied. "Until we verify it, you need to move." Across the aisle, Ryan Caldwell adjusted his navy blazer and glanced toward the empty seat beside his wife. He had wanted Ethan's seat from the moment he boarded. Claire had promised to handle it. Now she was turning that promise into policy. "The kid's holding up the flight," Ryan said, loud enough for the cabin to hear. "Just put him in the back." Ethan's eyes shifted toward him, then returned to Claire. "The gate agent scanned my pass." It turned green. Claire's expression tightened. "That doesn't prove anything." Near the galley, Olivia Grant, a young flight attendant on her first month with the airline, froze. She had scanned Ethan's boarding pass herself. She had seen his name, his seat number, and the executive travel code attached to the reservation. She opened her mouth, but Claire cut her a warning look before a single word escaped. Then Daniel Mercer appeared at the front of the cabin. The air marshal was tall, white, and composed in the way authority often looked when it believed no explanation was required. Claire stepped toward him and lowered her voice, but not enough. "Unverified passenger. Refusing instructions. Possible security concern." Ethan heard every word. So did Olivia. Daniel approached seat 2A and looked down at the teenager as if the conclusion had already been written. "Stand up," he said. Ethan did not. He placed both hands flat on the armrests and lifted his eyes toward the small security camera above the cabin door. "Before you do anything," he said quietly, "make sure that camera stays on." Daniel paused. "Just 1 second." Claire did not. "Remove him," she ordered. The cabin tightened around Ethan. Phones appeared. Whispers spread. Ryan leaned back with the satisfaction of a man watching a problem disappear. But Ethan was not afraid of being seen. He was afraid of being erased. And 12 minutes earlier, someone inside this airline had already begun trying. 12 minutes earlier, Ethan Brooks had stepped through the aircraft door with a quiet nod and a boarding pass glowing on his phone. Seat 2A waited near the front, beside the window, under the soft gold cabin lights. He placed his backpack beneath the seat and carefully set a small black case on his lap. Inside was a prototype air quality sensor he had spent nearly 2 years designing for a national engineering competition in Seattle. It was no toy. It could detect dangerous cabin pressure changes before standard systems issued an alert. His father had called the first-class ticket a reward, but Ethan saw it differently. To him, it was simply a place to sit while carrying something important. Claire Whitmore noticed him before he fastened his seat belt. Her eyes moved from his hoodie to his sneakers, then to the seat number above him. She did not offer water. She did not welcome him aboard. Instead, she checked her tablet twice and walked toward Ryan Caldwell, who stood several feet away with his wife. Ryan wore a tailored navy blazer and the impatient expression of a man accustomed to hearing yes. His wife had been assigned seat 3A. Ryan had seat 2B. He wanted Ethan moved so they could sit together. "You said you could fix this," Ryan murmured. Claire glanced toward Ethan. "I am handling it." She approached him with a smile that never reached her eyes. "Young man, there may have been a seating error. We need you to move to economy." Ethan looked at his boarding pass. "This says 2A. The system sometimes makes mistakes." The gate agent checked it. Claire held out her hand. Ethan passed her the phone. She studied the screen, though her attention seemed fixed less on the information than on the person holding it. "Who purchased this ticket?" she asked. Ethan paused. "My father." Ryan gave a quiet laugh from across the aisle. "Of course he did." Ethan heard him, but did not react. Claire handed the phone back. "We will need additional verification. My identification is in my wallet." "That may not be enough." Near the galley, Olivia Grant watched the exchange with growing concern. She remembered scanning Ethan's past moments earlier. The screen had flashed green. His name had appeared clearly, Ethan Brooks. Seat 2A. Confirmed. Beneath it sat a travel code Olivia had never seen before, marked executive authorization. She stepped forward. His boarding pass cleared at the door, she said. Claire turned so sharply that Olivia stopped mid-step. I did not ask for assistance. The words were soft, but the warning inside them was unmistakable. Olivia lowered her voice. I only meant that the system accepted it. Claire moved closer to her. Then perhaps you misread the screen. Olivia knew she had not. Ethan knew it too. He looked past Claire toward Ryan, then toward the empty seat beside Ryan's wife. The problem became clear. This was never about verification. It was about a seat someone else believed he should surrender. Ethan placed the black case securely beneath his feet and looked up at Claire. I am staying in the seat assigned to me. Her smile disappeared. Then you are refusing a crew instruction. She reached for the intercom phone, and the cabin seemed to grow colder before she even spoke. Claire lifted the intercom phone but did not make a public announcement. Instead, she pressed a private call button and spoke in a low, clipped voice. We have a passenger in first class refusing reassignment. Possible ticket irregularity. Send security assistance to the aircraft. Ethan watched her place the receiver down. The decision had already been made. She had not called anyone to verify his reservation. She had called someone to remove him. Ryan Caldwell settled into seat 2B with a satisfied breath, while his wife remained one row behind, pretending not to notice what was being done for her benefit. This could have been easy, Ryan said. You should learn when to cooperate. Ethan turned toward him. Cooperation is not giving you something that belongs to me. Ryan's smile thinned. Claire returned to Ethan's row and opened her tablet. I am giving you one final opportunity to move voluntarily. Show me the seating error. I do not have to show you internal information. Then call the gate agent who scanned my ticket. Claire tapped the screen without answering. Olivia stood near the galley, watching every movement. She knew the manifest had shown Ethan in seat 2A. She also knew Claire had not contacted the gate. Instead, Claire opened the passenger record and selected an administrative menu used for last-minute seating changes. Olivia took one careful step closer. Claire, the departure record should still show the original assignment. Claire looked over her shoulder. Return to the galley. The boarding scan is time-stamped. Now, Olivia. The cabin remained quiet, but the silence had changed. It was no longer peaceful. It was watchful. A woman in seat 3C lowered her book. A man across the aisle stopped typing on his laptop. Ethan noticed the attention and straightened his shoulders. He would not give Claire the reaction she appeared to expect. She wanted anger. Anger could be labeled disruptive. She wanted fear. Fear could be mistaken for guilt. Ethan offered neither. Please state clearly why my valid ticket is being questioned, he said. Claire stared at him. Because your reservation does not match the passenger profile attached to this cabin. The words hung in the air. Olivia's face tightened. Ethan looked around at the leather seats, the glasses of sparkling water, the neatly folded blankets, then back at Claire. What profile? Claire did not answer. Ryan did. Someone who belongs here. A few passengers shifted uncomfortably. Ethan felt the insult, but he refused to carry it for them. His father had taught him that prejudice often arrived wearing polite language, hiding behind words like procedure, concern, and fit. The language changed. The judgment did not. Claire turned her tablet away from Olivia and entered a command. Ethan's name disappeared from seat 2A. The empty space appeared instantly, clean and official, as though he had never boarded. Olivia saw it happen. Her hand moved toward her pocket, where her phone rested. Claire looked at Ethan again, confidence returning to her voice. There is no confirmed passenger assigned to this seat. Ethan glanced at the screen, then at Olivia. Her eyes told him the truth before she spoke. Someone had not found an error. Someone had created one. Olivia did not look away from the blank space on Claire's tablet. A moment earlier, Ethan Brooks had been listed in seat 2A with a confirmed boarding scan and an executive authorization code. Now the record showed nothing. No name. No ticket. No trace that he had ever stepped onto the aircraft. Claire locked the screen and turned toward the galley as if the matter had settled itself. There, she said. The seat is unassigned. Ethan remained still. You deleted it. Claire's expression hardened. Be careful with accusations. I watched you change the screen. You watch me correct an error. Ryan Caldwell leaned across the aisle. This is getting ridiculous. Move the kid so we can leave. Olivia felt her pulse climb, but she forced her breathing to stay even. She had spent 4 weeks learning procedures, emergency codes, and customer service language. Nothing in training had prepared her for watching a coworker turn a lie into an official record. She reached into her pocket and opened her phone beneath the edge of the service counter. Earlier, while scanning passengers at the door, she had taken a photograph of the manifest because the unfamiliar executive code beside Ethan's name had caught her attention. The image was still there. Ethan Brooks. Seat 2A. Confirmed. She took another photograph of the altered manifest while Claire faced the cabin. 2 images. 2 times. 1 truth. Claire turned back suddenly. Olivia lowered the phone. What are you doing? Checking the service schedule. Give me the phone. Olivia held it closer to her side. It is my personal device. You are on duty. Claire stepped nearer, her voice dropping. Do not turn this into a problem for yourself. The warning struck harder than shouting would have. Olivia understood the choice being offered. Protect the lie and keep her place, or protect the truth and risk losing it. She looked toward Ethan. He was 16 years old, surrounded by adults who had transformed his calm refusal into suspicion. He was not demanding special treatment. He was asking them to honor the ticket they had already accepted. I scanned his boarding pass, Olivia said, louder this time. Several passengers looked toward her. It was valid. His name was on the manifest when he boarded. Claire's face went still. You are mistaken. I am not. Return to the galley. The record was changed after he sat down. Ryan shook his head with a dismissive laugh. She is new. She probably does not understand the system. Olivia turned toward him. I understand what I saw. The cabin seemed to draw a breath. Ethan met Olivia's eyes and gave the smallest nod. Not gratitude. Recognition. Someone had finally chosen to say the truth aloud. Claire reached for the intercom phone again. Security assistance is required immediately, she said. The passenger is refusing instructions, and a crew member is interfering with procedure. Olivia felt the room shift against them both. Ethan picked up his phone and checked the time. He did not call anyone. Not yet. Instead, he spoke carefully, making sure every witness could hear. My name is Ethan Brooks. My seat was confirmed. She removed my name after I refused to give it to another passenger. Claire replaced the receiver. You will explain that outside. From beyond the aircraft door came the measured sound of approaching footsteps, and Olivia tightened her grip around the 2 photographs that could prove the entire story had been rewritten. Daniel Mercer entered the aircraft with the calm expression of a man who believed the uniform had already answered every question. Claire met him near the door and spoke before Ethan could say a word. He refuses to leave a seat that is not assigned to him. He has become disruptive, and there may be an unverified device in his possession. Ethan looked down at the small black case beneath his feet. The accusation arrived so smoothly that several passengers shifted away from him without knowing why. Daniel stepped into the aisle and studied Ethan from head to toe. Stand up and bring your belongings. Ethan kept his voice level. Am I being detained? Daniel did not answer. You are being removed from the aircraft until we confirm your identity and the contents of that case. My identity was confirmed at the gate. Claire folded her arms. There is no record of that. Olivia spoke from the galley. There was a record. I saw it. Daniel glanced at her, then back at Ethan. Open the case. Ethan lifted it onto his lap and released the latches. Inside rested a compact silver device, a tablet-sized control board, and carefully labeled sensor modules. It is an air quality and cabin pressure prototype, he said. I am taking it to a national engineering competition in Seattle. Claire leaned toward Daniel. That is exactly what concerned me. He brought an unknown electronic device into first class. Ethan stared at her. It was screened by airport security. Daniel examined the case without touching it. Do you have documentation? Ethan reached into the side pocket and removed a competition letter, a transportation clearance form, and a printed equipment list. Daniel read only the first page before handing the papers back. This does not resolve the seating issue. Ethan's jaw tightened. The seating issue was created after I refused to move for him. He pointed toward Ryan. Ryan raised both hands as though insulted by the suggestion. I only asked the crew to handle a customer problem. Olivia stepped forward. He wanted seat 2A. Claire changed the manifest after Ethan said no. Claire turned on her. One more accusation, and you will be taken off duty. Olivia hesitated, but her hand remained around the phone, holding both photographs. Daniel gestured toward the aisle. Ethan, collect your things. We will discuss this outside. Under what rule? Ethan asked. Crew instructions are not optional. Neither is the truth. The cabin went still. For one brief second, Ethan remembered sitting at the kitchen table with his father after losing a middle school debate because a judge had repeatedly interrupted him. Marcus had told him, your dignity belongs to you. Do not hand it over just because someone speaks with authority. Ethan closed the black case and stood without argument. He lifted his backpack, then looked directly at Daniel. I will walk with you, but I want everyone here to hear this. My ticket was valid. My name was deleted. My equipment was cleared. I have not threatened anyone. Daniel's expression changed, not with doubt, but with irritation at being forced to hear the record spoken aloud. Claire reached for the case. Ethan pulled it closer to his chest. I can carry my own work. As he stepped into the aisle, Ryan moved toward seat 2A before Ethan had even passed the first row. Olivia saw it. So did half the cabin. Ethan looked back once, not at the seat, but at Claire's tablet. A blank line had replaced his name. That was when he understood the real danger. They were not only removing him from the plane, they were building a version of the story in which he had never belonged there at all. The aircraft door closed behind Ethan with a soft mechanical click, and the jet bridge suddenly felt colder than the cabin. Daniel Mercer walked beside him, while Claire remained near the doorway holding her tablet like the record on its screen mattered more than the person standing in front of her. Ethan kept the black case close and set his backpack beside his shoes. He did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He looked at the clock above gate 14 and memorized the time. Am I being detained? He asked. Daniel glanced toward the gate desk. You are being held here while we verify the situation. Held under what authority? Daniel's expression tightened. Do not make this more difficult. Ethan heard the answer hidden inside the evasion. There was no rule being quoted because no rule had been broken. What law did I violate? He asked. Claire stepped forward. You refused a crew instruction and brought questionable equipment aboard. Ethan lifted the transportation clearance form. The equipment was screened. My ticket was accepted. The instruction was to surrender a seat assigned to me. A gate agent named Melissa Shaw stood behind the counter, watching the exchange with visible confusion. She pulled up Ethan's boarding scan and frowned. His pass cleared at 6:42, she said. Claire turned sharply. The onboard manifest shows no confirmed assignment. Melissa looked from her monitor to Claire's tablet. That is not what the departure record shows. The silence that followed felt sharper than an accusation. Ethan lowered his eyes to his watch and activated the voice recording function. A small red symbol appeared on the screen. He spoke clearly. My name is Ethan Brooks. It is 6:51 in the morning at gate 14. My boarding pass was valid. My seat was changed after I refused to give it to another passenger. I am being held without anyone identifying a law I violated. Daniel noticed the watch. Turn that off. Ethan looked at him. Is recording prohibited here? Daniel did not answer. At the aircraft door, Olivia appeared for only a second. Claire blocked most of her from view, but Olivia raised her phone just enough for Ethan to see the two photographs on the screen. The first showed his confirmed seat. The second showed the blank space created minutes later. Ethan gave the smallest nod. Olivia understood. She sent the images to a secure email address and saved copies before Claire ordered her back inside. Ethan opened his phone and typed a message to his father. He did not write that he was scared. He did not ask Marcus to rescue him. He wrote only 5 words. They deleted me from the flight. The message showed as delivered. 300 miles away, Marcus Brooks was seated at the head of a conference table while executives discussed a regional acquisition. His phone vibrated once. He read Ethan's message, and the entire room seemed to lose its sound. Marcus knew his son's language. Ethan never exaggerated, never dramatized, never asked for power when facts would do. Marcus stood and called Rachel Monroe, his chief legal officer. Preserve every record connected to Flight 417, he said. Boarding scans, cabin video, manifest changes, gate audio, and employee access logs. Rachel did not ask why. Understood. Marcus looked again at the message. They deleted me. Not moved me. Not questioned me. Deleted me. His voice lowered. And Rachel, No North Star aircraft leaves this airport until I know exactly who thought they had the authority to erase my son. The first change appeared on the departure board without explanation. Flight 417 shifted from on time to operational hold. Then Flight 206 changed. Then Flight 88. Within 90 seconds, every North Star departure at the airport displayed the same red notice. Gate agents reached for telephones. Pilots called dispatch. Passengers stared at the screens as the terminal filled with questions no one could answer. Claire looked up from her tablet and frowned. What is happening? Melissa Shaw checked her monitor. The hold came from corporate operations. All North Star aircraft are grounded pending an executive safety review. Daniel folded his arms. That has nothing to do with this passenger. Ethan said nothing. His phone vibrated once with a message from Rachel Monroe. Stay where you are. Records are secured. Across the country, Rachel and a team of legal officers were already tracing every change made to Ethan's reservation. The access log showed Claire opening seat 2A at 6:47, deleting Ethan's assignment at 6:48, and replacing the record with an unverified passenger alert 1 minute later. But the search did not stop there. Rachel ordered a review of similar complaints involving first-class reassignment, fraudulent ticket accusations, and unnecessary security referrals. The first file appeared within seconds. Then another. Then 12 more. 27 complaints had been submitted during the previous 2 years. 19 involved Claire. 7 carried Daniel's written approval. Most had been closed without interviews. Nearly every passenger named in those reports was Black or Latino. Marcus listened through a secure call while walking toward the airport executive entrance. His face remained calm, but each fact made the silence around him heavier. Do not release names publicly, he told Rachel. Protect the passengers. Preserve the evidence. Lock every employee account connected to those cases. Already underway, Rachel replied. Claire's manifest access has been suspended. Daniel's incident reports are secured. The board has joined the review. Back at gate 14, Claire tried to reopen the passenger record. Her password failed. She entered it again. Access denied appeared across the screen. Olivia emerged from the aircraft carrying her service bag. The captain received an order to keep the door open, she said. Claire turned toward her. You sent those photographs. Olivia held her gaze. I saved the truth. Daniel stepped closer to the gate counter. This is still an active security matter. Melissa shook her head. Corporate has removed you from the incident. Airport police were told not to accept a transfer until legal arrives. For the first time, Daniel's confidence cracked. Ethan stood beside the window, looking past the glass at a runway crowded with motionless North Star aircraft. Engines remained quiet. Jet bridges stayed connected. A company built to move thousands of people had stopped because someone had tried to erase one boy. Then the elevator doors opened at the end of the concourse. Marcus Brooks stepped out beside Rachel Monroe and the airport director. He wore a dark suit without a tie, his expression controlled, his pace unhurried. Claire looked at him without recognition. Daniel looked only mildly concerned. Ethan recognized his father immediately, but did not move. Marcus crossed the gate area, stopped beside his son, and examined the black case still held against Ethan's chest. Did you tell them the truth? He asked. Ethan nodded. Every time. Marcus turned toward Claire, and the terminal seemed to quiet around him. Then the failure belongs to everyone who refused to hear it. Claire looked from Marcus to the airport director, still waiting for someone to explain why the terminal had fallen silent around him. Rachel Monroe stepped forward and held up her identification. Rachel Monroe, Chief Legal Officer for Brooks Meridian Group. Claire's face tightened, but she forced a dismissive smile. This is an airline matter. Rachel did not blink. Brooks Meridian Group holds the controlling interest in North Star Airways. The words moved through the gate like a sudden change in pressure. Passengers stopped whispering. Melissa Shaw slowly lowered the telephone in her hand. Daniel studied Marcus again, this time with uncertainty. Marcus placed one hand on Ethan's shoulder, not as a display of ownership, but as a quiet promise that his son would no longer stand alone. Claire glanced at Ethan, then back at Marcus. You are his father? Yes. Then you should understand that we were following security procedure. Marcus looked toward the departure board, where every North Star flight remained marked by the same red hold. Procedure does not delete a valid passenger to satisfy another customer. Claire opened her mouth, but Rachel spoke first. At 6:48 this morning, you removed Ethan Brooks from seat 2A after his boarding pass had been verified. At 6:49, you entered an unverified passenger alert. At 6:50, you reported cleared engineering equipment as a possible threat. Claire's confidence drained one fact at a time. Daniel stepped forward. I acted on the information provided by the crew. Rachel turned to him. You approved 7 similar removals during the last 2 years. All 7 passengers were people of color. None were charged with an offense. Daniel's jaw tightened. Those cases were reviewed. They were closed without interviews, Rachel replied. Olivia stood several feet away, holding her phone. Marcus looked at her. You preserved the original manifest? Olivia nodded. I photographed it before and after the change. Claire turned toward her with disbelief. You betrayed your crew. Olivia's voice trembled, but it did not break. I refused to betray a passenger. A murmur of approval passed through the crowd. Inside the aircraft, Ryan Caldwell appeared at the open door and demanded to know when the flight would depart. Marcus looked directly at him. Were you promised my son's seat? Ryan hesitated. I requested that my wife sit beside me. That was not the question. Ryan's eyes dropped. Claire tried one final defense. This has been blown out of proportion because he is your son. Marcus's expression sharpened. No, this matters because you believed he was nobody's son. The gate became completely still. He stepped closer, his voice low and controlled. You did not remove a boy from first class. You exposed why this airline no longer deserves to leave the ground. Rachel handed Claire and Daniel formal suspension notices pending an independent investigation. Their system credentials had already been disabled. Their authority disappeared before either could protest. Marcus did not smile. He did not celebrate. He looked through the glass at the silent aircraft lined along the runway. North Star remains grounded, he said, until every complaint is reopened, every record is examined, and every employee understands that dignity is not an upgrade reserved for people they consider important. Ethan stood beside him, the black case held against his chest. For the first time that morning, no one questioned whether he belonged. The investigation began before the first aircraft moved again. Rachel Monroe ordered every complaint reopened, every altered manifest restored, and every passenger contacted by an independent review team. The red holds remained on the departure board while North Star executives joined an emergency call from offices across the country. No one spoke about public relations. Marcus Brooks had forbidden it. This is not a reputation problem, he told them. It is a character problem. At Gate 14, Claire and Daniel were escorted to separate offices to provide formal statements. Ryan Caldwell was removed from Flight 417 after the captain learned he had pressured the crew for Ethan's seat. Olivia Grant remained near the gate, uncertain whether she still had a job. Marcus approached her and held out his hand. You protected the record when everyone around you wanted it erased. Olivia shook his hand carefully. I should have spoken sooner. You spoke when it mattered, Marcus said. Now help us make sure the next person does not have to stand alone that long. Rachel informed Olivia that she would be placed under whistleblower protection and invited to join the passenger standards review team. Olivia looked toward Ethan. He gave her the same small nod he had offered inside the cabin. This time, it carried gratitude. Airport technicians inspected Ethan's black case and confirmed what he had said from the beginning. The prototype was safe, properly documented, and registered for the Seattle competition. Nothing about it had ever justified suspicion. Ethan opened the case and checked the sensor modules one by one. Everything was intact. Marcus watched him in silence. Do you still want to go? He asked. Ethan looked through the window at Flight 417, still attached to the gate. Not on that plane. Marcus nodded. Then we wait. Ethan shook his head. Not in first class either. He looked around at the crowded terminal, where families, business travelers, and exhausted workers were sitting beneath delayed signs. Everyone here lost time because of what happened to me. I will wait with them. Marcus studied his son for a moment, pride moving across his face without becoming a smile. Together they sat near the gate, not in a private lounge, but among the passengers. 2 hours later, Rachel announced the first reforms. North Star would create an independent civil rights office, require bias review for all security referrals, prohibit seat reassignment without a preserved digital record, and reopen 27 prior cases for restitution. Claire and Daniel remained suspended pending outside investigation. Ryan was barred from receiving special seating accommodations through employee discretion. The airline resumed limited operations only after the board approved every measure in writing. As the first North Star aircraft finally left the gate, Marcus stood beside the terminal window with Ethan. The runway stretched beneath the gray morning sky, wide and still beyond the moving plane. "You could have grounded them just for me," Ethan said. Marcus looked at him. That would have been revenge. And this? Accountability. Ethan closed the black case and held it at his side. Marcus watched the aircraft turn toward the runway. "An airline should never leave the ground when its values have already crashed," he said. The engines rose in the distance, but inside Gate 14, the greater change had already begun. No applause followed. No celebration was needed. The truth had been preserved, the silence had been broken, and a system that once erased a 16-year-old boy was now being forced to remember every person it had tried not to see.